Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Okay, and welcome back. We are going to begin what's called box modeling inside of Maya now that we have our image plane set up. Now, traditionally, box modeling, it doesn't have to use a cube, but a lot of times people start from a cube. For us, since we have a vase, and whenever you're kind of drawing or sketching, you want to take the base shape of whatever it is into consideration. Our vase is essentially, if you look at this, it's basically a cylinder that has been kind of, I don't know, what do they call that? Kind of bent this inward a little bit here, and we gave it a little bit of a lip, and then it has this other little handle piece, which is also a cylinder that's been bent and contorted. So what we can do is go to create, polygon primitives, cylinder, and it should drop a cylinder right in the middle. If it doesn't, you can just click and draw one up. But I'm just going to go ahead and drop one in. Cylinder, dink. Make sure that its translation is at origin, 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to come down here and see about how big I want this to be. So I'm going to really quickly jump into my front views. So down here where it says front, I'm going to jump in. And you'll see that our object is here, but our visibility for our image plane is not. You're going to want to press 6 on the keyboard to bring that up. See that? There we go. Now this guy, I'm going to move it up to about center of the vase, or the vase, or whatever, whichever. Over here on shapes, inputs, I'm going to hit cylinder. So radius is going to give us a rough radius. I'm going to just flesh this out to about the outer edge or outer diameter of our vase. And that comes to about 4.5, which is fine. And then I'm going to go with the height, and I'm going to go all the way up. Before I get too carried away, I grab this, move this up some, and continue. And that'll probably work. Now I know what you're thinking, how can I model my object if I can't see what I'm doing? Well, that's a very good question. So make sure we're under rendering, and go ahead and just click on a Lambert and drop a new Lambert on here. And we're going to just go ahead and give this an arbitrary name. It doesn't have to have anything special. But I'm just going to say transparency. And then under transparency, I'm going to go ahead and just boost the transparency up. I'm going to make it clear enough so I can see what I want, but dark enough so that I know that there's an object there. And right about that point is good for me. You guys are welcome to adjust that. I'm going to jump back into my channel box. And you can see that this is right at the top, and right at the bottom we have our width and our height. I'm going to go ahead and jump into our side view. Press 6 on the keyboard, and I'm going to check here, and it looks like everything's pretty much in line. That's one thing when you're working with image planes is you want to make sure that everything lines up, and these reference lines are important as well. If they didn't match, we'd have some issues, and you can double check whether or not these are going to match by putting everything to origin, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now, one thing I do see is our cylinder is a little bit forward of our overall shape here. So, oh, look, I have a warning. I'm just running out of memory. Don't worry about that. I will move this back just a tad. actually. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. If we were mirroring, I'd be more picky that I move this off of origin, but we're not gonna mirror. All right, so subdivisions along this axis here. I'm gonna drop this down. I don't want this to be 20 subdivisions. I want this to be a little rougher. So I'm gonna drop it down probably to about 8 or so. Let's see how 12 looks. And the reason I'm dropping this down as far as the detail is it's easier to work at a lower detail and then gradually raise it as you go. You don't want to start off with a lot of detail because it's just a bunch of crisscrossing lines that you have to account for. You don't want to work. You want to work smarter, not harder. Let's see how 8 looks. And I think 8 will actually work for everything because that gives us one on our center and then the ones on the edges here, and we'll be able to use this to form the lip. Okay. All right. And just real quick, I'll show you how to keep current color scheme. Don't show me again. Thank you. All right. I'm going to unclick my reference, and I will go ahead and grab both my image planes real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them both at origin. So all my translations, I'm going to hit 0. Actually, not all of them. I'll just make my translation in the x-axis at 0. And then this guy is in Z. We'll put him at 0. And what you would look for is whether or not any of these lines are misaligned. And it looks like everything's where they should be. You can kind of get an idea of what this vase will look like once it's fleshed out. Right. Okay. Just wanted to show you that real quick. Put those back. Was that 96? Sorry, minus 96 in the Z and minus 96 in the X, and I will put those back onto reference so I don't have to click on them. And here we go. Now once I set this up for my basically my 0 point or my point of beginning, I usually give it a quick save in case it crashes. Maya will always crash if especially if I'm low on memory and I'm recording and all that stuff, just so that I have a starting point to go back to. Okay. So I'm going to jump into a view. I'm going to work from my front view real quick. And I'm going to use these reference lines or my guidelines as a way to shape this model. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press 9 on the keyboard. And actually, I'm going to go back to object mode. Sorry, F8. And I'm going to go to Edit Mesh. In Maya 2016, you might have a slightly different setup. I think it's still under Edit. It's either Edit Mesh or Mesh Tools in 2016. But you want to grab Edge Loop, Insert Edge Loop. And you'll see that this becomes a component color because we're going to modify the component. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an edge loop right about here. See that nice cut? I'm going to add an edge loop. Yeah, I'll need one there. And I will need one here. And I'm not going to add any more just yet, and the reason I'm not is as I start to model this, I don't want to add too much detail that I can't go back and cut it out. So I'm going to stop from there. I'm going to press Q on the keyboard to get rid of that tool. And I'm going to press F9 to get back into vertex mode. And I'm going to grab these top vertices. And I'm going to press the E key. I'm going to go ahead and scale these in. And then I'm going to come down to this neck piece here. Marquee select all the way across. I'm going to grab this center and pull these in. Grab these guys, pull them in, grab these ones at the bottom, and then pull those in. And I will check it from the other side, make sure that that's the case. And you can see that there are some issues with the shape, which is why I want to make sure that I don't have too much detail to try to model and fix as I go. So right here, I'm going to fix this little gooseneck area. So the last tool we had selected was Insert Edge Loop. If we push Y on the keyboard, it'll bring it back. So I'm going to go ahead and put right about there. Right here, I'm going to need to change the shape of this of the vase. I'm going to put one there. And I'll even put one down here to kind of fluff that out. And once I collapse this one in, I'll probably need another set, but I don't want to go too far. So I'm going to press Q to get rid of my tool, F9 to get back into vertex mode. Grab these vertices here. Oops. E on the keyboard, and I'm going to pull these in. And you can see that we're going to need another level of detail right here as we go. This looks like it's going to work. And right here, I'm going to need the nose of this gooseneck, or of the spout. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to move this vertex down, out. So that one's there. Let me see how this is going to look. This one, I'm going to also move down. And I'm actually going to grab this set right here. I'm just going to move them down to line up with the top surface of this lip here. And when you're working from an image plane, always trust your guides so that you can keep everything in line. Occasionally you're going to run to a spot where, yeah, there's a little bit of bleed, like this little black line. I'm not too concerned with that. A lot of that will flesh out when I smooth it. But you want to, for the most part, keep everything the way you've drawn it. Okay, I'm going to come here, grab these ones. And you notice I'm jumping around from one area to the next, and I'm doing that so that I don't get too bogged down in the details. It's easy to get lost and just be like, well, I'm working on this too much, and then later on you come back to something, you're like, well, whoa, what was I doing? So if I keep moving around, it's easier for my eyes to kind of readjust and see how this is taking shape naturally over time. Then I need one more level of detail right here on the neck. So I'm going to press Y to bring back my last tool used, which was the edge loop. I'm going to add an edge loop here. Q on the keyboard to get rid of my tool. F9 to come back into vertex mode. R on the keyboard. And bring that in. And I think I'm going to pull this. I'm going to grab W on the keyboard and just translate these down some. And I think that'll work. Yeah, let's go. How picky do I want to be? Because you can see from the image that it kind of comes up and it tapers and it kind of goes straight. So I think I'm fine right about there. I just don't want this being too square. If it's too square, I might add another level and just work with it. Or this guy, move it down some. There should be these ones right here. So I'm going to grab this guy and this guy. So remember, you can grab one and then hold shift and grab the other. And if you look, they're kind of pointy. I'm just going to pull them down some to flesh out this sort of a lip thing that's happening. So I've got those. Next two. Got that, and then I'm going to grab this one and bring it down some. Okay. So there you have it, is the rough shape of our vase, right? Go ahead and save and stop here, and then in the next video we'll add the handle, and we will adjust this lip so it looks more like our vase. I will see you on the next video. Oh, before I jump out, when you're naming these, name them in a set. So the last one, we'll assume that's 00, we'll say 01. That way you have a reference to go back to. It's just a good habit to get into as you're working. Alright, I'll see you next time.